is 6 o'clock, and we'll call this meeting of the Dalton Township Planning Commission for March 29, 2022 in order at 6 p.m. Start with a roll call. Dave, I'm here. Jesse? Here. Nick is excused. Lee? Here. John? Here. Casey? Here. And Todd? Here. You. All right, anything to add to the agenda?
Just one small item, the agenda that was provided to you under item for public hearing, the parcel number needs to have 012 inserted between 07 and 300, just a small typo to correct.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the correction of the typo between 07 and 300 to add 012.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approval of the minutes for February 22nd. Once had a chance to review that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 22nd regular meeting.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, we are going to open up public comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, you will have 3 minutes. We will have a separate public hearing for each of the items down below for public hearing, if you have something to say about that. But if there's any other items you would like to discuss, take your 3 minutes. You can sing a song for us if you'd like, anything. We allow any entertainment, what have you. We've been working all day, so appreciate
I
it.
have known how to practice. Can't go out there and go
All
for
right,
it.
I'll open that public hearing at 6:02. Yes.
You're going to take public comment
Yes.
before the hearing?
Yep.
My name is Corey Roberts. I reside at 7189 West 104th Street in Fremont, Michigan, actually Dalton Township. I'm here this evening to urge the board to revisit your cannabis zoning ordinances. From my understanding, if you would have had the operating facility until late this year, you would have received basically $55,000 roughly. If you had another similar operation out on Whitehall Road in Dalton, you would receive about $56,000 for that establishment as well. If you simply look to include residents in your community, your constituents, who currently operate under the caregiver law, if you allow them to operate under the micro business license, you could have put a tenfold on what your community would have took in tax revenue. See, because you'll only get that stipend per retail location, which as far as I'm understanding of your ordinance, the way that it's written up, you can have a recreational medical at one place, and that counts for both of them, and then you can have one on the other side of your township. For every micro business you allow, you will also get that stipend, and that's where you're doing your civic duty by bringing in your constituents into the fold, into the cannabis industry, which is very difficult to not only get the zoning for it, but the financing. Me and my partners purchased 420 Harvey Street in Muskegon, Michigan. We requested ad hoc zoning. We received a unanimous decision on that through letters of recommendation from Last Prisoner Project, Rare Cannabis Company, Wayne State University's Behavioral Health and Criminal Justice Department. And in doing so, they opened up the door for me to get into the cannabis industry. I currently am a majority shareholder in a company that's projected to do $27 million. That would never been possible if not for Proposal 1. Some of you may be familiar with my work. I'm sure you've seen the large Proposal 1 sign that sat at the curb in Twin Lake in 2018 before the election. That sign proudly hangs on my living room wall. My cousin, who grew up in the house I live in, is now a resident of your community. He has been disproportionately affected by the war on drugs since he was a child, not to mention his own convictions for marijuana. He's applied for the social equity status from the state of Michigan. He will be receiving that. And we will be looking for this township to make it inclusive for him to operate a business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, I will close the public hearing at 6:05. All right, we will now move on to items for public hearing. The first one is for the rezoning of parcel 61-07 300-0011-00 vacant land on Holden Road. We have the person who, there's someone here to speak on behalf of the proposal.
Yeah.
Just step forward. If you would like to step to the podium, your option, we probably could hear you through
All
everything.
Yeah, I'm just looking to do it, we have the Stanhope Builders in Twin Lake, and my dad would go
You
to
are,
Guy Stanhope, Junior. Looking to expand, and this property is residential, and just want to make it commercial, so we can just have mainly for storage and office space. There's like a pole barn with an office on the front, and then down the road do a potential split, and maybe do storage units out back. Something along them lines, just a big lot. I don't know, because it's a marathon across the street, but it's residential on both sides of the property. But there's Norms and Marathon and the Ace Hardware right there. So I didn't know if it'd be able to, like it to be switched to C2, if possible.
Any questions anyone has at this point?
what are the dimensions of your property?
I don't have those on hand.
How big a building you plan to build?
For the office space and storage, probably like a 40 by 60 to 60 by 80, with just like a 24 by 24 office space attached to the front of that.
So you're looking at 4,800 square foot building?
Yeah, right around there.
So how much area would you be planning to clear? Everything's wooded right now, so
Yeah.
we plan to clear for the building, driveway, yard area, things like that?
Probably less than 5 acres. The up front, the front portion of it.
When would you plan on building that?
That'd be down the road, with probably a couple years down the road. I'm just, the property's residential right now, and the sales contingent on it being switched over. So I don't wanna buy it and then be stuck with it.
Right, yep, I get that.
But yeah, it'd be a couple years down the road, most likely.
Steve, is this the property we're talking about?
Correct.
It's the subject property? Okay.
It helps us to kind of get that information on the building, because that's a separate, we have to come back with that proposal.
Right.
We're to go through, but we're trying to put it together so we know what we're kind of hearing as far as the clearing, that kind of thing. So thank you. Anyone else have any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, I will, at this point, we will be opening up the public comment section for this at 6:10. So if you would like to speak, please state your name and your address, and then you're allowed 3 minutes. So if we have anyone that would, I'll open that right now at 6:10.
My name is Joe Timmerman. I'm here on behalf of Larry Zimmerman at 5747 Holden Road. Basically, I've already sent in my letter. The only thing I have an issue with is the open, we have acres in the back. It pretty much butts up against Tina's house and the one that's next to Tina. I don't know if they're here today or not. But there's a parcel of land that's behind them that's basically owned by us. I don't know if that's gonna create too much of an issue with their building plans at all. So I mean, there's a possible issue with maybe, you know, them dumping their stuff over in our yard, having an issue with that. Maybe having an issue with us, you know, I guess having an issue with the land right next to us also. I guess my dad hunts back there because he's a long haul truck driver. So during the fall season, he'll come home, he'll hunt. So I mean, figure down the road, if they do want to do that, you know, we have an issue with no deer basically running through there at all. So it's just a land that he had that, you know, he got this, we just bought this in July of 2021. So that was also something for him, you know, for hunting instead of trying to find land somewhere else to hunt. So, but that's pretty much all I got. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have anyone else like to speak? Okay.
Tina Cunningham, I'm at 5665 Holden Road. I wrote an extensive letter. I do apologize for the length, but I've been here 40 years, and I'm surrounded, and I bought up, and my house sits, as I explained, right next to that property line. And my biggest issue is it going into a commercial, especially a C2, it will forever open that up to any type of business. We're already pretty congested. I explained in the letter, you know, probably some issues with that line curve. All of the commercial is on the east side. We're still heavily residential on the west side. It backed up with many acres of residential as well. And most of it's in the letter. I submitted, kind of backed it up just a little bit for most concerns. But like I said, I did enough. My house, my pole barn, I explained why that's there. It's at the furthest back of the property on that. Within just 400 feet of the woods. The rest of it is completely useless. So it really affects me. Any type of clearing, anything, and then having potential storage units way back off the road into those woods is, I think it's just a really bad idea. Having a lot of traffic and people and, you know, business and stuff split up into the way back. That property is over, I think it's 1,025 feet deep. So it goes back a couple of ways. And depending on the map, it's anywhere from 600 to 700 feet in frontage. So, like I say, there's a little parcel up front. I highlighted one parcel. That area, all of that is exactly right where I live. And then that road being where it's located to that curve, I explained the situation of that, and the traffic, and it's a really tight congested spot, and has, you know, had some traffic issues there as well, too. So, I go through the whole letter, I mean, I just appreciate you taking time to read all the points that I put in there. Consider them.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak on that? Yes.
I didn't write a letter, I didn't quite know how to write. I live at Sheila Flavor, I live at 5775 Bolton Road, and you tried getting out on that road. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes to get both on the road because of the traffic. And when they come around the corner, they're just like a shot out of a cannon. I
And there is a lot of wildlife there. And this would be like detrimental to all of them. It seems like we're killing off everything else. What's our turn?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we will close the public hearing at 6:17. We'll now have our board member discussion. We had our meeting last week and discussed several of the, finding the property was kind of the challenge at first. I think now that we know exactly where that is, everything seems to fall in line as far as what we were looking for here. So it's looking to go R1 to either 2C2.
That's currently zoned R1 right now, isn't it, Steve?
Correct,
R1.
R1.
So where I'm at, I guess, is the concerns I've heard regarding wildlife tree clearing are pointless in my eyes. I like woods, but being that zoned R1, I mean, anybody can go in there, pick up the whole thing without doing anything if they wanted to. Or they can go in there and clear cut it and build 15 houses, without Winnecker lots, right? So anybody could buy it today and go build 15 houses there. So to me, the clearing and the traffic is a moot point. I don't think that Stanhope's commercial business would add very much traffic myself, to a business like that. I think 15 houses would add a lot more traffic. I personally think it's a great spot for a business like that, being that one thing's highly commercial. But at the same time, it don't sound like to me there's any immediate plans for Stanhope, so I don't see a reason to immediately change the zoning for something that might happen a few years down the road. That's what
I think in the interest of safety, it would be better if M120 would go commercial. I think having residences and having people live there is probably more unsafe than having people pull out of businesses, especially because some businesses are closed in the evening and things like that. I think also taking away some of the woods off of M120 might make the wildlife retreat away from M120 and less people would be hitting deer out on M120. I think there's a lot of commercial, and in the master plan, this is one of our only 2 commercial corridors in the entire township. So I think it feels like this is a natural progression to moving this towards commercial.
I'll make a comment. I think the only thing that's troubling me, well, a couple things, but the ambiguity of what Stanhope Builders wants to do. Well, we might do this, that in the future, or whatever. That really doesn't say anything to really what will be the ultimate use of that property. I think if you had a business plan and some architectural rendering, maybe of what you want to actually build on it, it would be much more, it'd be easier for me to consider, you know, the rezoning of that.
But before anything could happen, they would have to come to the planning commission.
Exactly.
And we could make buffering, we can put some things in at that time to try to.
Setbacks, parking,
Right,
lighting,
correct,
fencing.
exactly. So,
Right, it's not a,
even
you
if
know,
we
drop
change it, we'll
dead.
see it again. I mean, they can't do anything really without us
That's
seeing it
exactly
again.
right.
But because, I mean, the commercial zone is pretty, you know, the setbacks on that are pretty tight, you know, so I mean, maybe to make it a little nicer for the neighbors, we'd wanna increase a buffer or something possibly.
Yeah.
But if we just go zone it commercial, then you can do whatever meets the ordinance, you know, which is fine, but I think we can make it a little better for everybody to get, hey, this is what we want to do, and say, okay, fine, but, you know, scooch over your line a little bit, give them a little more room over there. It is a big parcel, there's plenty of room, but it sounds pretty, it's very open-ended and vague. And like I say, I mean,
The problem,
why do we have to rezone it right now if there's not any intention tomorrow other than just buy it from that? Maybe somebody wants to put a subdivision in there 3 months from now.
yeah, and that's the problem, like, right now it's R1, it could be clear cut by the current landowner without, so we can't really do a lot about the clearing unless they submit a site plan to us, like, it could get cleared tomorrow even if we say no to the zone change, so I don't wanna hold too far onto that, cause you never know what'll happen. I don't wanna guarantee anybody out there that, oh, they don't have a site plan to us, so they won't clear it, cause the current landowner could just hire a logger tomorrow.
Exactly.
It was already long.
But we can say at the same time, I don't see the need for the zone change today, I guess.
Other than the fact that they already paid the $600 to have us consider it is just, I feel bad if they came back with a site plan, could they, do you pay $600 if you want a zone change and $600 for the site plan if they did them together? Or is it just one fee?
I believe it's one fee, I would have to double check
Okay.
the fee schedule.
So it's possible if they came back in a couple of years, well, I guess they don't want to purchase it if they don't.
And a good thing is, I mean, you know, we've had a lot of people in the past too, come to us and say, hey, if we do this, would you guys, you know, are you receptive to these plans, or would you guys like to see this, or things like that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, we would like to see that. Yeah, okay, I'll be back in 3 months with this and that, you know, I mean, that's always a good way to approach it too.
That's
I
true.
can understand getting it now, securing it now, and then with plans to do something in the future, you know, especially with, you know, like I was listening to the arguments against it, and like I'm hearing all that, it makes a lot of sense, but when you look at this map and you look at all the C2, you look at all the commercial in here, it makes sense to secure it now with the hope of doing something with it later. So I mean, I understand that, I don't think somebody would have to have a plan right now to utilize it, but if it can't be rezoned, then what's the point? So,
But at the same time, I agree with you, Jesse, it's a great piece of property to just buy, even if it's R1, because say we don't rezone it later down the road when they, in a couple years when they want to do something, they could easily offload it, I'm sure.
I don't
It's
see
a
it
15-acre
changing.
huge parcel on
I don't see it
M20.
changing the value of the parcel.
I don't
that much.
either,
I mean,
yeah.
if you want to buy it, buy it.
Sure.
So your options at this point are we can move forward with approval, we could table, or we could deny. Someone like to make a motion?
It would be, yeah, like you said, like you guys are saying, it would be nice to have like a more definite plan. I understand everybody's concerns too, you know, I like to have my room, my space. Oh, man, yeah, it would be nice to have more definite thing of how it's gonna be used, just for us to make a decision, because try to keep everybody a little bit happy. Kind of torn. Do.
So we just do residential construction too, it's not like there's gonna be cars in and out of there all day or a bunch of noise, we just build houses, we're not doing nothing industrial or no heavy equipment or nothing like that, it's just gonna be a shop, like a pole barn basically, for storage for trucks and trailers, stuff like that. It's not gonna be full-time traffic coming in and out, or, and I don't wanna cut down more trees than I'd have to anyways, you know what I'm saying? Cause don't want neighbors looking at, watching what we're doing all day either.
And it's expensive.
Uh-huh.
I guess I have a question, other than the obvious, like where it's at, why that location? Have you explored other locations to do this in?
Yeah, I was looked at purchasing Grassmeyer guns down the road farther, but that one's just like a big old open field too, and it's kind of farther away from the midst of Twin Lake, everything else that is going on, I guess. You're right across from the gas station too, which is nice, so you fill up every other day. But it's just a good location, I think, for what I want to do. And we've always been out of Twin Lake, our family has, so. We just need more room.
So personally, like I say, I guess where I'm at with it is, I don't think it's necessary to rezone it today, because I don't see the value of the land changing that much, if at all, whether it's zoned R1, whether it's commercial or not. I mean, if you want to buy the property, buy the property. If somebody wants to put subdivisions there next month, I mean, theoretically, you know, they say, okay, we're not gonna buy the property because we're not gonna zone it, it's there for sale. You know, or they buy it, right, they buy it, and then in 6 months, oh, I don't wanna do that anymore, I wanna put subdivision there. If we zone it R1, but, you know what I mean, so I can foresee this going back and forth, so if you don't need it today, I guess my suggestion is we just leave it set. I think it's a great spot for your shop, or any other commercial business, myself.
Right.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, I just don't want to be stuck
I
sitting
think
on
it's-
it and then that not be a option, you know what I mean? When the time comes. Okay, what if I buy it and then I want to change it in 2 years and it's a no-go, I'm just stuck with a big old square right there.
And Casey, was that your point,
It
was to
is.
say if you were to purchase it and then come back later with a site plan and the rezoning, you could do both of them, you think, at least at this point, together, which would be,
But now I see his concern. Say he comes back in 2 years and none of us are sitting here and the other people are like, oh, no
Yeah.
way. We want M120 to be farm fields and that's it, no businesses.
Yeah.
Then kind of he's in trouble because he had a somewhat friendly and open-minded towards this being commercial and now it's changed, so I can see his, I don't think a site plan to me changes really anything because he could change his site plan too a million times.
Well, the lot's so big, it's gonna be just a rectangle building. So you could put it dang near anywhere, with all the setbacks.
Doesn't it seem like a valuable piece of land just to put a pole barn on and keep your trucks? I don't get that.
Could,
part.
would that, I don't think I could do that,
I don't
have
think
a
you can run a
commercial
business.
office with signs and stuff out there if it's not.
Like a whole
You can do
showroom.
that? I didn't know if you could do that with this,
No, I don't think so.
yeah, I don't think you could do
Township.
it.
Well, he said construction equipment.
Yeah, but what's the restrictions on like, well, you can't even build a pole barn on a,
No, you need to have a house there
Right.
first.
Yeah. You could have a
So I'd have to build a home and then build the
right, but
barn.
you have to move his house there.
Yeah.
He seems to already have a house.
the other thing is, guy you need to remember is in our master plan, it shows that strip along there being commercial. So once that's in the master plan, there's really not, the township don't have much to stand on to deny rezoning if it's in their master plan.
Mhm. So the odds are high.
Wrong on that, Steve. I mean, the township don't have much to stand on. If the master plan says commercial here,
Yeah, it's a very good, solid case.
the township don't have much to, it's
Especially-
pretty hard for the township to deny it.
Especially if you're ready to develop.
And it's in your master plan to be commercial. It's, you have a lot going for you to rezone it if it's in the master plan to be
Alright.
commercial, is what I'm saying.
So you're saying it's gonna be commercial either way? Eventually,
That's
most
just
likely.
what's in the master plan, so who knows, you know, I mean, that's just what's in the master plan of intended future land use.
Cause I live right in that area, and it seems like to me if Twin Lake's expanding or gonna grow any, that eventually that spot is gonna be commercial.
there's no other way for commercial to grow,
Exactly.
That's very likely.
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be zoned that anyway.
Unless it's full houses, so they buy
Right.
some subdivision in there, then it won't be commercial in here.
Sounds like this guy's gonna, so put commercial.
If somebody doesn't want commercial there, they're gonna buy it and dump 15 houses in there. They're not worried about being commercial.
Or just dump one house, but,
Well, being staying home builders, if you can't get it commercial, then they could just build houses.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. I'm really, I'm not necessarily inclined to, I either wanna table it and have them give you guys something next month to look at, or I'd like to try to decide which direction we want this to go. And if the master plan is commercial, and it's gonna eventually end up commercial, then I feel like maybe there's no time but the present, but to just move this parcel over to it. If a site plan would help, then we could table it and look at it next month, but like I say, that could change. It's not gonna be site plan review, it's just giving us an idea, which could change. And honestly, storage buildings, we already just approved a storage, like down on the other side of the road, like somewhere in there. And they don't get all that much traffic. I mean,
People drop their stuff off, they don't go back.
right. That's why they have to always auction them off. So, I mean, you wanna talk about a commercial business that's not gonna be a detriment, that really is one of them, because it's not high traffic like other commercial things that could go in there.
Well, with the master plan in mind and a guy that just paid $600 to have this considered, maybe we just approve it.
Would you like to make a motion?
Well, I'm leaning on the other people here's opinion on this, because I think there's valid arguments all the way around.
Master plan moves it definitely for me. That's one of the things that we paid the money to do that. That was what really stuck out to me when I was looking at this. And I think looking at the long-term effect of the land versus the short-term right now, we could say no now and be in the same position down the road. He spent the $600 to put it in, and it's moving in the direction that, and that master plan's how many years old now? So
Next year we're looking at
so
it
it's been
again.
4 years, I believe, so we're looking at that being a potential. So I guess that's where we have to make the decision. I guess each member needs to kind of see what their thinking is on that. We can obviously all disagree on it or see which way this goes. I think we at least ought to put it for a vote.
What's the process, Dave, if we all agree to change it over? Does that then go to the zoning board of appeal or the township board for approval? Or is it with the 7 of us?
It goes to the township board for approval because it is an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, okay.
So we're sending it to them.
Right.
And I will point out, we do need to make a correction, non-substantive change. The parcel number, there's a typo in the parcel number from the proposed ordinance. We'll just need to change that to be the, to match the parcel number on the application.
Oh, instead of 031-012?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, and that's missing.
In the text, did you see that too?
In the title, it's missing 012.
Yeah, so in the
and then-
title, it's missing
Okay.
the section number.
Yeah,
So add the section number.
So the main problem I have is M120 is inherently unsafe. I mean, it needs a center turn lane, it needs some help, but that's really nothing for us to do or say. And MDOT, I guarantee there's no money for anything. And I know that people don't want growth and they don't want things on things where a road is already deemed to be unsafe, but I don't feel like this use will make it any more unsafe. And I believe this zone change is inevitable. If it's not today, then it's down the line, definitely coming though.
cost?
I'd love to save M120, but that's way beyond my scope.
Where is Stanhope currently?
It's in the old post office across from Overboard.
Across the street from Overboard?
Overboard and the breakfast joint.
Are those new storage units also yours?
The apartment building,
No, I think,
or the ones
Oh.
across from the bar.
oh, no, I'm sorry, I was thinking the effing bar, okay.
Yeah, I
So-
know somebody else is putting those in. I've been thinking about this for a while, and then those just popped up.
Okay, so you have
That's
that, I don't know what to call it, you remodeled the building on the corner?
Yeah, that's not, somebody else bought that, and he's just been picking away at that.
You're-
We're just a little
You're
cute.
next to there,
Yeah,
gotcha, okay.
So you're already on M120?
yep,
So instead of your trucks pulling out there, they're gonna be pulling out further down the road?
yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Do you own a little parcel there then on that corner, or
Yeah, yep, it's just a real small lot.
do you intend to do anything with it once you vacate it, or? do you-
With that building, just end up fixing it up. I don't know what we'd end up doing. Probably not sell. I use it for something. It's hard to say.
Okay.
So what is your, knowing full well that we're already talking about, thinking about your site plan and your buffering requirements, when considering this, you should also consider that we're likely going to make you buffer above what the ordinance is on these residential.
Necessarily
It says, yeah, there's a line that says we can also add some buffering if necessary. Remember we did for the marijuana grow facility, we made them add bushes where there wasn't any.
But I don't know
I
that we
think
can,
in the
if it's
site-
a permitted use, I don't know that we can. Or is it under site plan review?
That's where I think it is, there's a line that says.
Something changed there.
Yeah, so it says, under screening, it says where commercial uses abut residential uses, appropriate screening consisting of attractively designed fencing or screening equivalent shall be provided. And it doesn't really go into what that exactly means. And then on the next page, it says the planning commission may impose reasonable conditions on the approval of a site plan, such as conditions necessary to ensure compatibility with adjacent land uses, blah, 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 it goes on and on. So I think we do have a little leeway on requiring screening and things.
Stephen, would you agree with that?
I agree.
So it would be something,
So if you're not open to possibly having to leave some more acreage there, you should speak up right now.
I don't know, it's hard to say, because it's not, I don't have an actual site plan right now, and I don't know how big of storage units I would do out back. Just, I pop up one or two of them, and then if they fill up, then I keep expanding, you know, I don't want to just build a big old facility and not have anything rented out. But it's hard to say, it could fully expand, or it might just be, who knows, it could not even happen with the storage units, that's just up in the air. But the main thing is the shop. Right now, but that's a big lot, that's 15 acres, I won't need 15, I could probably fit all that stuff on 8 acres with, or not even.
You don't even need that.
No.
Really,
Can I ask a quick question? May I ask?
Yep.
sure I understood your question. Could you speak up just a
Oh,
little?
I'm sorry. Some of the properties, commercial properties, do have split zoning. The commercial portion is X amount in the front, and then the remainder acreage in the back is still left either residential or something on that line. So that's a kind of helps the neighbors, and then the commercial up front.
Okay.
Do we do that, Steve?
It's not common.
Okay, I was gonna say, that just has to make a mess.
No.
Because so if you ever wanted to build houses on the back, you'd have to drive through a business to do it.
Well, there's, or rezone it, or, I mean,
It's
it's,
17.7, there's quite a bit of stuff for adjacent land use.
yeah, there's, I think Grassmeyer's might possibly have to split zoning on that property.
Yeah, Grassmeyer's is agriculture on the back third of it.
We have a fence split zone as well.
I wonder if they needed that though, maybe they have the shooting.
Probably.
Because
No.
There's got a lot of weird stuff that's.
Yeah,
I'd rather do buffer requirements on a site plan than.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. We can sort out some requirements later on to satisfy neighbors.
So I guess we come back to the same place. If someone would like to make a motion?
All right.
You got it.
I'll make a motion to approve the zone change to C2, ordinance 2022-303, and send it to the board for review. With the corrections to adding 012 and correcting the 031 to 012.
And
Correct.
Yes, correct, with the parcel number being corrected.
Do you have a support?
I'll support.
All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Jesse?
Yes.
Nick? Rizal? Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Dave, I will vote yes. So we will move forward that, send that forward to the board. All right, we are now going to move into SU 22-02 for Thunderbird Raceway. We will start that with a public comment. If you would like to speak on that behalf again, if you would just stand and give us your name and address, that would greatly help us. So I'll open this at 6:44. Is there anyone that would like to step forward and speak on behalf? Anyone, public comment for that?
I'm just wondering if the owner is here.
Where?
Oh.
He ain't asking for the owner right now.
So we will first do the, close the public hearing at 6:45. All right, if we would have the owner, if you want to step forward and kind of tell us exactly what you're looking for. We had some questions on this one because I know you didn't own it at the time. Last year, we did move this back a bit because we had some concerns from the prior owner. And it went from, was it 11 to 11:30?
Yes.
Okay.
He asked for an hour last year, and we gave that.
Yeah.
It's interesting going to a plan commission on rules, but I'm used to that. You'll be seeing a lot of need when it comes to improvements that we will be doing to the facility.
Can I ask,
Oh.
are you Justin or Michael?
Hi, my name is Michael Blackmer.
Okay, thank you.
Justin Sharp is the general manager.
Okay,
And
thank you.
then
We have Levron and Kathy Paul with us, which will be working at the track as well. My name is Michael Blackmer. I probably should tell you my name. I own 2 other racetracks as well in Michigan. Merritt Speedway in Lake City and Tri-City Speedway in Auburn, Michigan. So this will be my 3rd racetrack. The reason I bought it is because Tom, as you all know, built this in 2016 after it sat for many years. And he has really built a great business when it comes to the race for a dirt track. Competing against him was pretty tough, watching what he's grown and how Thunderbird has grown. And then I had the opportunity to buy it. I had a lot of major plans for it, it being in Grand Rapids Market. Just Merritt Speedway alone, I bought it in 2015. Since then, I've put 750,000 in there. I put all new bleachers in there, put a concourse in there, put all new lights. This is kind of the same thing I'd like to do at Thunderbird. It's going to take time. I got to see how things go, but it does. Tom got it to where it is today, per your guys's, what you wanted. My job is to get it to the next part. I'm here asking for 2 things from what I'm understanding. One is the time. I would like to see if I can get that stretched to 11:45, and I'll tell you why. I'd like to get that stretched to 11:45. Owning my other 2 racetracks, there's just times when you have nights that it's just a lot of crash-fill nights. And that 15 minutes difference is a lot. Personally, it's good to be done by 10:30. You get people, you get people to bring their families and sit there from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock is enough. So my goal is to be done. But with what time is done with that business, with so many cars, it's kind of hard. But the reason I'm asking for the 15 more minutes, it's really not the stock cars, and I have no idea what Tom has presented to you before. Before the races get started, during the race time, which is I think it's at 5, they have what you call mini wedges. They're for kids from the ages of 4 to 11. Thunderbird has the biggest amount of cars of anybody in Michigan. When it comes to these kids from 4 to 11 years old coming in racing, and we have on our phones, you can, as a promoter, you can look and see how many cars each track has, and I look at how many mini wedges that he has. Trying to keep a 4-year-old up to 11-year-old in control is pretty difficult sometimes, of trying to explain to them how to race. So that could set us behind right then and there just with the amount of kids. I look at it as a good thing. You got kids, I'd rather have to be doing that and not cause them trouble or anything like that. And then the future of racing is the kids. So that extra 15 minutes would go a long way with the amount of cars that we get at that racetrack to go along with the kids. So the kids are just as part of the racing as the stock cars. And then the other thing is, the previous people had a concession stand that Tom chose to, the previous owner, he chose to sub out his concession stands. And they brought a trailer into that. I'm not going to. I'm going to, you'll be seeing a lot of me in the next few years. But for this year, we want to take the concession stand that was a concession stand there before Tom bought it and make it a concession stand that's got everything in it. We'll make it a health department approval. Cold, we'll be up to their colds for it this year, and then hopefully next year we'll build a new one. But for this year, Tom used it for. It was a souvenir shack, and he sold like ice cream out of it, but nothing like I'm going to. I'm going to cook the hot dogs, the hamburgers outdoors on the grill, and we'll sell them through there. But, so that's the other request. And that's about what we got right now. Okay, questions?
Anyone have any questions at this time?
This 15 minutes, that's so critical. Why don't you just start earlier?
We already are, but no matter what time you start, you can start at 3 o'clock. And it's just something easily can set us apart. And all these drivers, this is the problem, all these drivers come there, they get paid. They get paid to come there. And so if you get to where you're at 20 after 11, and like I say, I think we'll be done, but I'm just going for the security, because I don't I have not been to Thunderbird, I just know by the car count, it's close. But these guys expect to be paid. And when they come there, they want to be paid. And if we get where we cannot run that race, because of the time limit, it causes, they came there all day long, been there since 1 o'clock, and they're not going to get paid. And that 15 minutes is just huge, it adds up through the night. The way I run my racetrack, Justin can verify this, I don't stop. We keep them going. And if I see in the mid-ready shoot a class sitting there and going on the track, believe me, I'm on the radio, what's going on. At my other 2 tracks, I want to get done, I want to be done early. So that's what I want, but since we have, and for the most part, Tri-City, I'll give you a good example, they always got done before I bought it from 12:30, 1 o'clock, always. I don't think we went one day after 11 o'clock last year.
Maybe by a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we just try to, we want to get them out there, we want the kids to get home. So, but if you have a lot of wrecks, it just sometimes happens, if you have a big event, and or you get a little rain, you have to sit it out, a 10-minute rain, which could happen easily on this side of the state. A 10-minute rain, we got that 15 minutes to play with, and it's just, it might not sound like a lot to you, but as a race promoter, that 15 minutes is huge.
Okay, so it's not 15 minutes, because the
Well-
11:30 was only approved for last year.
Okay.
So the current curfew is 11. That's
Okay,
what's in
so
the-
45 minutes.
So yeah, if you're looking to 11:45, it'd be 10.
Yeah, and I did not know that till today, I thought it was already approved, so.
It was a 1-year
Yes.
trial period.
Okay, and as far as I know, it went good last year, as far as I know, so you had no one here, so.
All right, well, thank you so much. Have we had any complaints on the noise after the 11:30 time frame since we approved that last year?
They only went over twice. They were 11:35 one day and 11:50 another day, so other than that, they were done by the 11:30.
That's, like, we're talking about done racing.
Yes, done with the bulk of the noise, and then they shut the track down, so, yeah. Because it's the noise that's the problem. It's not anything else they're really doing.
And I've never received any official complaints.
I mean, I've heard very little. I know where I live over in Katy, and I can hear it on some nights, and we can generally tell when it slows down, and I didn't hear anything past, it was not beyond the 11:30, at least what I can hear where we are there. It's, like I say, on a still night, I think it could be in my front yard. It's, again, it's part of what the call for that is, and that's the enjoyment that people have, so. I guess I kind of let that speak for me. In fact, we don't have a lot of people stating it. But I guess my other thing is, this thing, we went through this last time, and Nick, who was not here, was kind of our King Solomon. He says, well, why don't you just start it a half hour earlier instead of, and to not be able to do that, I understand, because the part is, when you have kids involved, the parents have to get the kids there, you have quite a few things that put you in a position where you don't know how many you're gonna have, and do you know that ahead of time a lot?
No.
Registration, so it's the night of?
The night of is, when they show up, you never know how many cars. You could have 100 cars, 174. And Thunderbird, like I say, has became the #1 track in Michigan with car count.
So I think when you look at this big of a schedule, and the fact that they really only went over the 11 o'clock, only just a couple times the whole year, I think if they were consistently going to 11:45 or midnight, you would then see the complaints increase. But I would like to point out also in the noise ordinance, businesses actually are not allowed to make noise after 10. So I want to be clear that they already have an hour over what the noise ordinance is already. And so my point of, I love Thunderbird, by the way. I mean, my family's been racing there for years. I have no issue with it at all. It's a great business. I'm glad it's improving. I'd love to see some more improvements. My biggest problem is I want everything to be equal for everybody. All businesses, all residents, we all follow the same ordinances. I don't want to make an exception for one business to, like, you can go around the ordinance because we told you you could. And then we have all the people coming in and I want to do this, can I do this? And how do you tell other people no if you've told somebody yes? You're kind of setting a precedent to start saying that other things are okay. And I don't really want to get into like, oh, your reasonings, I understand. You don't have a very good reason, so we're going to say no. So I like to keep things equal because then everybody knows the rules. They're written down, they're on the township's website, so everybody can see what they have to go by, and then we don't have to judge anything or be the person put in the middle.
Consistency is nice.
Yes, and they were special use back in 2016 when Tom reopened it. They were given till 11, so I mean I wouldn't take that away and go back to the 10 because obviously the planning commission wanted that, but I'm not sure about going past 11 because they're already over by an hour.
Like I said last week, I think what we did last year worked really well. And, you know, I mean, we left it at 11 o'clock with 11:30 for extenuating circumstances and don't make it a regular habit, and you got a half hour left. And it worked well, we didn't have any complaints, and they went over a couple of times, but it was there for them, you know. But to me, when you start whittling down to 15 minutes, it's only 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, you get 15 more, and it's like, yeah. But I think what we did last year worked well. If there's gonna be a lot of racers, start it earlier. You know, go from 4 to 3, go from 3 to 2, whatever. It is on Saturday. The concessions, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's just fighting itself. That's all health department stuff anyways.
Michael, these dates are primarily Saturday nights. Am I reading it correctly?
Yeah, we have a special at the end of the year.
That's your common night or?
Yeah, we have
racing.
1 week show, just
Yeah.
like Tom did. Tour comes in on Wednesday night, and then the last weekend we race both Friday and Saturday.
Right. This, I don't know, this doesn't have any bearing, I'm just curious, but how late do you serve beer?
We don't serve beer.
You don't?
No, they
Okay.
don't.
Not that day.
Bring your own.
My mistake.
A lot of it.
I was told to go, but I didn't know that.
Eventually, we would like to be, but that's.
Do
not
your
gonna
other
work.
tracks sell beer?
Yes,
Do you intend to sell beer here in the future?
I would like to.
Probably not a bad idea.
That way you can control the consumption.
Yeah. I like the idea of the track myself. I'm relatively new to this region of Michigan, and I oftentimes see these families trailering their rigs over here, and I know that people are from all over. It's very much a family thing. Would you say that most people through the gate are spectators or family participant teams?
That's one thing I like, that we have changed in dirt racing, and I'm sure it's the same at Thunderbird, is when the teams come, it's the whole family, because we let the family go in the pits now. Where maybe 5-10 years ago, you couldn't bring the kids in the pits. Now you can, and so the family gets to be together the whole time. So it makes it so much better.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with Tri-City, by the way. It's my birth area, way back.
John? What do you think?
These cars in this class, this league, division, whatever, there's no sound deadening respirators, exhaust, you know, I mean, is it just wide open headers?
No, we've got decimal points.
Oh, you do
I'm sure we
test
do.
them?
Yeah, We require mufflers on, I believe, all classes,
Okay.
especially the bigger cars. But we also check the sound at the road to not exceed 100 decibels by the standard meter at the road.
What do you mean, at the road?
At the roadway to the property.
Oh, gotcha.
We have a meter we check. We do that each week, we write it down. Protects us, just in case, someone gets a complaint.
I agree with everything that's been said, so far, it's already over an hour, and if it would last you the way we had it, is that gonna continue the extra half an hour on occasion?
That's my
That's my question, if we say 11, but we say, you know, a couple times they could be over, aren't we pretty much just saying 11:30 then? Because, I mean,
That's what we did last year, so that's my suggestion, you know. I mean, right, on the night, special land use application, it's just 12 midnight as needed. So I'm saying
Right, but suddenly
11:30.
it'll become
I'm
needed
saying
every time.
11:30 as needed, but.
You know, it helps because if this would become a yearly thing and it's something they have to come back the following year, we'll have this year as the way of measuring it. And if it's something where we're getting to 11:45, we get those time periods, we can say we pull it back and we go the other way.
And or measure, and or see if we're getting complaints. We don't even get any complaints at half an hour maybe.
like I said, I just don't,
But it is inconsistent.
I just don't want to be, you know, I don't know why this business though gets to have an extension. Like, other people have to be quiet. Residents have to follow the same thing. Theirs goes till 11. But nobody goes past 11 in the noise ordinance at all. There's some some businesses are 9, some are 10, some are weekdays only, but I'm really hesitant to give one business free rein, because then every business can, and I guarantee you will start getting complaints if all over the township you have businesses that are, it's the noise, it's not anything else. If it was just lights and it was just people congregated there, it's because of the noise factor. They're not doing anything else in the nuisance ordinance to violate, but I guarantee if you put noise, or if you surveyed the township residents, none of them would want an 11:30 anywhere else in their backyard. So I know the residents around Thunderbird are great and they don't complain, and that's good, but I'm worried about in the future when someone sits in front of us and says, Thunderbird goes till 11:30, so I do too, and I'm over here like in another resource conservation that's a really nice, quiet neighborhood that's not gonna be receptive to it.
But
And I
that's
don't wanna
why
have to-
that's why we have to come in front of you every year. So if you do have that problem, you could change your mind at the next meeting. That's why we have to come in front of you every year.
So you're in support of paying $600 every year to see us about this?
We have no choice.
You do, because last year we did it for just the year.
Well-
But that was just a stipulation we put on it. We can either choose to put a stipulation or approve this for like ever.
I'm fine coming in front of you every year.
Okay.
Because this is a very, very, very important. There ain't too many racetracks, first of all, in your county that I think if you had another racetrack built, then yeah, they'd be coming to you and asking you for an extra hour or so. I don't know very many other type of businesses that would come and ask you for a noise level besides like a racetrack. Right?
I'm just thinking like construction, like they're not allowed to operate heavy equipment anywhere in the township after 9 PM on weekdays. They can't do anything on the weekends. Well, why can't they? If you can operate till 11:30, why can't somebody dig a pond until 11:30 on a weekend, on a Saturday night in a residential zone? That's the point I'm trying to make.
I think the only thing that could possibly be similar would be a bar that has an outdoor band
Or a mud bob.
late at night. Well, I think motor racing is, the sound's indicative, it's indicative of the sport. You either have it or you don't. And I don't know, I can't argue time, I guess. It seems to be quite a rural area in the first place. I hear it occasionally. I live on Twin Lake. It doesn't bother me, 'cause of course I'm quite a ways away, but That's what motorsports are all about. Could be a motocross track, but they don't race at late at night usually under lights. I would hate to stifle your opportunity by limiting your time, but 11:30, 11:45, midnight, that's what people do in the summer. Especially this region, it's a recreational rich region, I would say to begin with. But, yeah, if I wanna go to bed at 10 on Saturday night, I guess it'd bother me. I don't know, I wanna be fair.
Other people leave there being loud and be doing something else stupid.
The noise is exciting to me. But,
We really
you're
have,
not like having jet cars at the drag, the drag strip or things like that.
we have the extending the curfew, and really, we went to 11 already, so that's kind of where we're standing now, is at 11 o'clock. If we want to do something with curfew time, that's one of the options, and we also have to approve the use of the concession stand, which doesn't sound like anyone has any concerns with the concession stand. I think that makes perfect sense. Got to do all the health department stuff anyway, so I guess the question is, do we stay at 11? Do we allow for the 11:30? We had no reported documented concerns from last year.
I just don't want to focus on this parcel. I want to focus on the ordinance that's been standing since 1975 and make sure that we're considering that we're basically telling people that an ordinance that we've had for that long is really not, you just come to us and we'll hear your case. And I don't want to start being a judge and jury. That's not, I joined the planning commission to make everything more equal and more across zoning and things like that, so, I just.
That can be added to our list of things I think we need to look at. We have several of those,
Yes.
and I think that's a very, very.
That's
good-
the way you
very
go
good-
about it.
yeah.
If you don't like that the racetrack is stifled, then we look at the ordinance so that it's good for everybody. Then we have a public hearing in the whole township for changing the noise ordinance and letting other people come in and talk about it. That's, I think, the right way to deal with it, really.
Has the township measured the decibel?
No,
Do we
they
have-
measure
Do
themselves.
we have any empirical data that says they're way loud, or they're way over some set limit? I mean, how loud is loud, anyway? I
Right,
can
so.
hear the effing bar, they have bands outdoors.
So zoning doesn't really consider decibels. I've talked to Jeffrey about this, the township supervisor, because, and we got a thing in our packet a few months ago about from Michigan State, talking about how decibels really don't mean a lot because there's so many factors, wind condition, and like, it could be 100 decibels at the property on one day, and then 10 minutes later, if the winds shift, it could be 100 decibels up on somebody's front yard. So they try to, that's why the nuisance ordinance in our ordinance doesn't say anything about decibel levels, because it's way too hard to measure and be accurate.
So we can make the approval for extending the curfew. We can pass it with, it sounds like again, the concession stands, if someone would like to offer a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to leave it at 11 and to approve the concessions. And just as a side note, to possibly revisit the noise ordinance.
Do we have support?
All support.
You get that, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we will take a roll call vote. Todd?
No,
Casey?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Lee?
Yeah, yes.
Jesse?
No.
I will vote yes.
So what does that mean now? I gotta be done by 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock.
Okay, so you're controlling my you're controlling, I must have shut it down. We must have just shut it down. there's no sense to.
Yeah.
You got the best racetrack in Michigan,
I would like to
in
see
your
it.
county, in your county. I know I'm supposed to talk, but in your county, I can't tell you how many thousands of people come every weekend. Every weekend, but you're throwing out the county now. You're throwing them out. It's a shame. I can't believe I wasted my money buying this township.
All right, we'll move on to communications. The staff report, township board meeting minutes, and the monthly MSU email. We have no unfinished business, no new business. Is there someone who'd like to make a motion for adjournment?
That would be for the gentleman.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting at 7:12.
You were on my list.